other network, and you'll hear we are in a crisis, experiencing more school shootings than ever before. There's only one thing wrong with that: fact. It's not a fact. The people at the Mises Institute recently took a dispassionate look at the number of school shootings in the 1990s compared to today. What they discovered may shock you. Joining us now from Denver to discuss that is Ryan McMaken, senior editor at the Mises Institute and former aide to Chuck Schumer. Chris Hahn is with us in New York. Great to see both of you. Let's start with you, Ryan. Where are we on this? Because it really is alarming. We have more dead students. We have a town in mourning, 30 miles outside of Houston. We have a lot of politicians who want to do something with gun control or gun safety reform, whatever they're calling it. But what is the truth about the actual numbers here?
Well, of course, you can never be in a position where you say, oh, hey, there's not homicides, no big deal, problem solved. But when people start talking about how there's an epidemic, how there's a crisis, I'm tempted to go and look at the actual data to see if that's true, if we're going to use that as the basis for policy making. And so when we, after the Parkland disaster back in February, we started to see some data that was coming out that started to come to our attention. And some of that came from James Allen Fox at Northeastern University, who has some new research coming out showing, where he counts up all of these gun incidents that took place over the past 25 years or so. And there wasn't evidence to suggest that this is a growing trend. If anything, it shows that the numbers are declining. And at the same time, there was new Justice Department data that came out in November of last year showing that school violence is declining as well. And then just to add additional context to that, this all seems quite plausible when you consider the fact that the FBI annual data on homicides shows that homicides have basically been cut in half since the 1990s. Homicides are much lower now than they were 20 and 30 years ago.
All right, let's go to Chris on this. Chris, any student lost in a horrific shooting is heartbreaking for families, for the entire community. But it is interesting to see how the media are playing this as a, it's a trend, it's something that's going to keep happening, et cetera, et cetera. One thing happened on CNN today I'm going to play for you. We don't have time to play the full minute clip. I was on MSNBC, excuse me. It was a full minute-long clip of a reporter trying to get these baseball players in Santa Fe High School to say something about gun control. This is just one part of it. Let's watch.
We saw the teens in Parkland really become the voices of the movement for gun reform across the country. Now your voices have become all important. How do you feel about that responsibility on your shoulders right now, Trent?
It's just kind of what it is. It's sad that it happens everywhere, but you just kind of have to go through it.
Well, anyway, the kids, none of the baseball players would kind of take the take the bait on the question, which I just found odd to do that. These are people. I mean, if people want to be involved with gun control, they can be involved with gun control, but don't put them well, the other kids are doing this. Well, it's just a little odd. But Chris, what about the numbers question by Ryan's study and the Northeastern study?
So I looked at it, and the study stops in 2013, so we can't really compare to what was happening in the last 5 years from what happened in 2013. And remember, there has been 288 shootings up until today in schools since 2009. That's 57 times more than all the other members of the biggest industrialized countries in the world combined, the G7 combined. So in the United States of America, you are 57 times more likely than all of the other G7 nations in the world to be shot in a school. So what are we doing differently than those schools, than those other countries? And I think we have more lax gun control in this country, and that's why we're having more shootings, and we have a culture of guns. And Ryan, I'm not saying that there's a one-size-fits-all solution here, Laura, but I am saying we've got to take a real hard look at how people store their guns and who gets a gun.
Ryan,
well, I just want to note.
Yeah, well, hold on. If it's 2013, if that's right, that's a pretty devastating response. I mean, if it's not up to 2018 or 2017, what's going on with this study?
Well, there's two things we can note here. First of all, the statistic just quoted about there being more than 200 shootings over that time period. Fox actually addressed that in a February USA Today column, where he noted that more than 50% of those shootings were incidents that were just a person who attempted suicide or completed suicide on a campus, or incidents involving a gun where no one was actually shot or injured. So what they've done is they've taken and vastly expanded their definition of what it is to come up with that big number.
For your study?
Well, what was it 2013 real quick, because we want to continue this real quick.
I would say let's look at the overall homicide data. If we don't have specifics on school shootings, then let's look at homicide. Why is it that we're now...
We'll continue this on radio,
so
guys.
why
Great
are we
segment,
addressing this
we got to get the numbers and the
homicide?
dates right on this study. We're going to be right back, continuing.